captive audience for my absolutely atrocious science and or dad jokes. Don't touch the bat soup. I'd start with that, except rugby, fencing and Dungeons and Dragons.
Hello and welcome to Chobham Academy's TeacherPod. I'm here today as the host to interview a number of teachers from our academy. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce, or in fact, I'm not going to introduce, I'm going to let themselves introduce. So first of all, who are you and what do you do?
Hello, my name is Alex Butcher. I'm the Director of Learning for Science at Chobham Academy. Amongst other things, I teach students the ways of science, and there are many.
Perfect, thank you very much. So, Mr. Butcher, just tell us about your background. Who is Mr. Butcher?
Well, my background is that I was born in West Sussex. I did a science degree at Bristol University, and part of that was to do some credits for a master's in the history and philosophy of science. I then worked in the Republic of Korea, which is known as South Korea, for 2 years, teaching and lecturing before returning then to the UK and doing my teacher training at Sussex University, after which I then moved up to London to work in Tower Hamlets, and then finally over to Newham and at Chobham Academy.
What kind of a student were you at school?
The kind of student that I was at school, well, honestly, I don't really think I would have gotten along with myself all that well. I would say that I could have focused a lot more, but I was always doing something that interested me. I wanted to know answers to why questions. I probably took things too lightly, academically speaking, except rugby, fencing and Dungeons and Dragons. They were all quite hardcore pursuits of mine.
Brilliant, thank you. Tell us about a job you had before working in education.
Before working in education, I'd had various jobs, one of which before I went to university, and whilst I was at university, was actually as an auxiliary nurse or a healthcare assistant. That has given me a wealth of experience to do with all aspects of healthcare, but also dealing with, I suppose, people and individuals, especially those who are unwell. In addition to that, I've also been at the University Royal Naval Unit. So that means that I was part of the Naval Reserves. And so I would mostly do PR work with the Navy, sailing around or steaming, as it were, around the UK on our boat, HMS Trumpeter.
Thanks. Didn't know that. That's really interesting. Why did you get into the world of education?
I got into the world of education because I had always been interested from my previous experience at university and in the Royal Navy in terms of teaching and instructing. I then followed up and had a really good experience in South Korea teaching, writing books and teaching materials. And overall, I found that I enjoyed supporting people to learn, to inquire, explore. Apart from anything else, it does mean I get a terrible situation in that I have a captive audience for my absolutely atrocious science and or dad jokes.
Yeah, I'm terrible for those dad jokes as well. My students either laugh or just look at me and sort of, what are you doing, sir?
Quite blankly sometimes, yeah.
Tell us, what does an outstanding student look like to you?
An outstanding student to me is a student that is resilient, reflective, resourceful, and unfortunately I have to break my alliteration with R there and say inquisitive. But I think those 4 words are going to explain and describe an outstanding student to me, apart from the student that's obviously outside the school, standing in the playground, but that's a different kind of joke.
What do you like to do at weekends?
So at the weekends, I guess walking the dog is my favourite thing to do. I can also do some cooking, maybe a bit of batch cooking, just in case I haven't got enough time in the week, or maybe I wanted to try a different technique. I am quite interested in sort of doing sciencey things, or ultimately making something tasty. But apart from that, reading my geeky science fiction books when I can, catching up with the family, maybe catching up with a bit of TV, and most likely Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever else. But also practicing Portuguese, and normally food-related vocabulary.
Who inspires you and why?
So the people that inspire me, not in any particular order, because, maybe there can be some particular order, but I start off with saying my wife, my mum, and I suppose for our purposes here, my colleagues and the giants of science, of course. And that's said with the on whose shoulders we stand. Each of those, my wife, my mum, and my colleagues and the giants of science, all for their own reasons, but mostly for showing what dedication is, and ultimately putting up with me at times, of course, and the giants of science not included.
What's your favourite thing about Chobham Academy, Mr. Butcher?
So, in words, my favourite thing about Chobham Academy is community. I don't mean that in a fluffy sense of the word, but a community of dedicated educators and students, mostly, who want each year to be the best year ever. And that's what I mean by community in that sense.
If you could go back to your 15-year-old self, what advice would you give him and why?
Probably don't touch the bat soup. I'd start with that. But time machines aside, probably something reassuring, and maybe a push towards learning more programming languages, and maybe also tell them to wear a helmet when they're on a skateboard more often, though I don't remember exactly why I should be giving that advice.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Butcher. I'm just going to add a side little anecdote. I know you said something that you like to do at weekends, and that's walk the dog. Is it possible to meet the dog?
Yes, it is. I will just...
Don't know if this will work.
Leia, come on. Come on. This is Leia.
Hi, Leia.
She's a Morkie, which is a cross between a Yorkshire Terrier and a Maltese. So yeah, she's quite sleepy at the moment, although she is most of the time. But she's also in need of a haircut.
Yeah, aren't we all? Is she a well-behaved dog?
Yes, pretty much. I mean, she's cheeky, but no major behaviour issues. She's relatively calm, and I mean, occasionally she has these sort of bursts of energy, and she'll run around the house. But as you can see, pretty much a floppy dog at the moment. But she loves being around people, so that's why she's quite good here as well. So occasionally I can be teaching a lesson here, right here at this very spot, and she might be sort of on my lap here, out of view of the camera, obviously, and then I'll have to sort of teach over the top, doing all those things there, or she'll be down by my feet. Not because she loves my feet particularly, but I think dogs love sort of their owner's clothes and feet and anything that possibly is a bit stinky and fungusy. So that's dogs for you. Lovely.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Butcher, for your time. Hopefully I'll see you again soon in school, and I'm sure the students will be looking forward to hearing your dad jokes again.
Oh, definitely. I've got such a backlog now. It needs to be shared, very much so. I do obviously do them in my online lessons. Of course, there is the risk that the parents get involved that way as well.
Thanks very much, sir. We'll speak to you soon.
Bye.